to my YouTube channel. Today we are doing a very fun a Q&A episode. I asked you on my Instagram to ask away any questions that you may have, and I'll be answering them today. So first, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Julianne Knitter, and everything I talk about I will link down below this video where you can find me, all of those fun stuff. I'm wearing my autumn tweed pullover, which is coming out November 14th. So get on the newsletter if you are interested in this fun sweater. I knit it out of Knit Pick City Tweed DK in Obsidian, Primrose, and Snowbank. So I figured I would put that out there because I know there's going to be some questions on, oh my gosh, what are you wearing? Well, let's hope that there's questions about that because that means you actually like it. Yeah, so let's just jump right in. I have not looked at these questions before. I did not have any chance to prepare, so bear with me, but I hope that we can get through all of them. All right, so first up, what charting software do you use? I use Stitch Mastery. You pay for a one-time subscription cost and then you have it for life. Absolutely love Stitch Mastery. There's a lot of online tutorials that you can do, so yes, Stitch Masteries I use. How do you pick color combos? Whew. Well, I do know the type of color palette. Oh, by the way, my questions are right here, so if that's where I'm looking at. I do know the type of color palette that I love, and I kind of go based on that. I also go based on what I would actually wear. I do love a lot of good neutrals. I wouldn't put any neons in garments for myself. I know that I don't like those types of colors. I do try and go with my comfort zone. And what I would recommend if you are trying out to knitting your first garment and you're not really sure what kind of color scheme, go in your closet. What are the garments or things that you gravitate towards? You know, do you mostly have grays and that's what you absolutely love and you feel comfortable in? Then I would highly recommend going with grays. Or if you're wanting to switch it up a little bit, maybe go in your wardrobe and see what's missing. You can really go and have fun with your color palette, but I would definitely try, that's what I do, is stay true to the colors that I love, what are things that I like. If I'm going with a dyer, then I say, hey, by the way, I really like this main color. What do you think I should use for my contrast colors? I'm looking for 2 of them. They may also have like things that, you know, that they're not selling or they have in the back, and they can put together and really show you. So I think it's really just having fun with color. There's no right or wrong answer for this. It's really just is go with speaks whatever to you. I mean, if you love that color palette, then do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing with color, but anytime you have a question, definitely ask a dyer. If you are really, you know, I would at least have an idea in mind. Say, I really like this main color and I'm looking for 1 or 2 contrast colors. What would you think would go best with it? And they would definitely know their colors. If you're looking at a commercial yarn brand company, what I would do is I would sometimes go on Ravelry and see if there's any project with those colors, and you can kind of see them play together. That would be a really good option. Or putting them all on your screen and really seeing the colors that you like. You could also order 1 ball of each to kind of do a swatch. There's different types of ways, but like I said, there's no right or wrong answer for this. It's just whatever you like. So do you and be happy with it. So when designing, how do you calculate for the yoke increases? Don't want to give away too much of the designing process, but yoke increases, you can do a Google search on designing with yoke increases and those types of things. So I won't be answering how I design, like the math, because I do think that that is in the patterns, but that you can easily go Google. There are some types of instructions. You can buy books that can really help. There's some like with top-down sweaters, all of those. So definitely go and search there if you're wanting to get more into that. Is there a good, easy tutorial on basic sock knitting? The heel confuses me in patterns. Yes, there are so many. What I would do is I would first figure out what type of sock you want to knit. And from there, I would definitely go on YouTube and just go sock knitting. If you are wanting to do a heel flap and gusset, if you're wanting to do an afterthought heel, if you're like, there's so many out there. What I would first off do is go say, okay, is there somebody that I like? I know Very Pink Knits. She is absolutely amazing on tutorials. Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady, came out with a ton of stuff. I do also know that Earthtone Girls, she came out with a No Fear sock knitting, all her tutorials. There's so many people out there that do a lot of YouTube tutorials and those types of things and follow you through. I do know that Denise of Earthtone Girls did do like a full series of no fear sock knitting, so I would definitely go check her out. She's an amazing person, and definitely go and do her videos. What are things I should have to start besides knitting needles and yarns? That is such a fun question, because I'm going to have an entire blog post on the top 8 knitting tools and notions that you need. So please, I'm going to answer that yes, there are some, but I'm going to keep that kind of a secret, and then I'm going to post that very, very soon, a fun blog post on all of those. How can I improve my skills? Should I be knitting more consistently or constantly? So knitting, how to improve your knitting comes with practice. It really does. Knitting something around and around or plain can really help you knit faster and knit better. Something like your gauge and things all get better in time. As we are a new knitter, we are terrified of any of those stitches falling off the needle, so we knit super, 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 super tight. That's all depending on your gauge. And as you gain more confidence in knitting, you're just going to loosen up a little bit more and really find your true gauge. I do find how to improve your knitting is really with practice. Do patterns that speak to you but are also not too complicated, where you can really follow through with a pattern and take your time. I do sometimes think that when we're trying to rush something or we're trying to do something that's a little more complicated, we may not finish it because it's just not up our alley. Also, do things that speak to you. Do it with yarns that you enjoy. Really enjoy the process of knitting. And practice. Knitting dishcloths can really help. Knitting blankets, knitting around and around on a sweater or a hat. Those are types of techniques that it may seem simple to say, but let's say that you are knitting on that blanket. And as you're knitting around and around, you've never been able to knit without looking, okay? Wait. Yeah. And as you're round and around and around, you're going to gain that confidence that you don't need to look at your knitting anymore, and you're just knitting. But that helps when you don't have to look down at your knitting. You can knit while you're watching TV. That all comes with practice. So really, the best thing I can say is practice. Make sure that you like your needles and your yarn matching together, because I find that if you're not enjoying the yarn, you won't enjoy the knit. So that. How can I start to understand knitting abbreviations? Knitting abbreviations that are used in a pattern should always be in that pattern. You can also probably Google knitting abbreviations, and in front of multiple stitch dictionaries and books, they will all be there, so they can really be helpful towards you. Now, if you were talking that a lingo that, we sometimes say, like an FO is a finished object, or that type, I don't think anyone's ever really like written like knitting lingo where it's, that we always use. Like a hoe is a halved object, FO is a finished object. Those types of things, I think it's just, as people mention them, they should maybe mention what it is. But if you are talking about stitch in a pattern, they should always be included. So go usually either at the beginning or the end of your pattern, and they should be there. If you have any doubts, Google. Google is your best friend. Google, say FO in knitting, and you will see that it will pop up and somebody will have answered your question. What is your favorite base for a good DK sweater? I love merino. Merino wool is probably my all-time favorite because I absolutely love the feel of merino. There's so many good, I would never say I only knit with merino, because this one is an alpaca, merino, and tweed blend, and I absolutely loved it. I have one sweater that's 100% superwash merino. I have another sweater that's going to be wool and tweed. I really love all sorts, but my top one would probably be merino because of the softness. I just think, yeah. And if you are looking for a very affordable merino, I'm going to have a full YouTube review on the Knit Picks Twill, which is 100% superwash merino wool. So look for that. That's really good and affordable. What bob winder and swift do you suggest? Well, you see them right here. This one is a Knit Picks Swift that I have, and then this one is a Stanwood Craft that I bought on Amazon a few years ago. If you're looking for an affordable one, this one was a little bit more expensive, but I want to say I paid like maybe like 60. But Knit Picks has one for $19.99, which is the exact same. So I love this setup. Really simple, easy, and it's clean and it's there. So that's what I use. Recommend a video to watch for picking up for edging. I'm doing a sand and ocean cardigan. Okay, if you're picking up stitches or anything like that, any type of YouTube tutorial, I always go back to Very Pink. Very Pink Knits. She is amazing and the best, and I want to say like the top dog for YouTube video tutorials. I really do think that she would be the best one. So honestly, just Google YouTube. Like all of these questions, if ever you have a question that's, you need to answer right away, Google it and YouTube it. You will get so many answers. Everybody's had these questions before. You are not the first one to ask this. And that's what the amazing thing with YouTube and Google is. You can really learn from other people who've had the exact same questions that you have. So it's amazing. I absolutely love it. That's how I taught myself to knit. And so if you have any questions, I would definitely YouTube, but Very Pink Knit Stacy has amazing videos. She taught me how to knit from YouTube, so that's why I always recommend her. It's because it's just, how I learned to knit. How do you keep your floats equal when you do color work? Keeping your floats engaged in tension with color work, you want to make sure that you are not carrying your floats over 5 stitches. So let's say that you're doing a chart. Just remember, like if you're carrying it every 4 stitches, we'll continue that all the way around. So then it's very consistent. Always make sure there's a few things for color work tips and tricks. I think I answered it on my last Q&A episode. Make sure that you always cut your floats. You are using appropriate needles. If your gauge is very, very tight, make sure you're actually going up a needle size in your color work if you need to. You can, I'm trying to think the top like tips and tricks for that. But your floats, easiest thing I can say that if you are a very, very, very tight knitter, go up a needle size. And as well, you can definitely catch your floats after 5. Do not like over 5 stitches. Then what's going to happen is it's going to be super tight and it won't be comfortable at all. You can even go down to 4 stitches if you want. And catching your floats literally just means that you're twisting the yarn in the back, so you're carrying it along. So you don't have these super long flows that you can get caught in and will be stretching out your colorwork knitting. How do you avoid making the hole in the heel when making socks? For some reason, I always seem to have. We all do. That hole in the heel is almost impossible not to do. Now, in all of my knitting patterns, what I do suggest is that when you go back to join, and that's when you're doing like usually heel flap and gusset, pick up an extra stitch around that hole, and you're going to see that it's going to help a lot. And then you knit it together on the next round, so you're not actually increasing, but you're just picking up that stitch and then you knit it together with the next stitch on that needle, and that will help close that gap. You can even pick up 2 stitches if you want and really close up that gap. That's going to help. That is the only thing that I do know that can help a lot, as well as if you're doing like a contrast color, definitely keep long tails so you can sew up those at the end, but it's almost impossible not to have those little holes. Pick up at those extra stitches will help your knitting needles. Your knitting needles will help your knitting. Talk about all the things knitting and designing has taught you. Whew! Do you have like 5 hours? Knitting and designing has taught me patience, has taught me how much work really goes into a pattern. I, as a knitter, never thought, when I first started designing, I didn't think, well, it can't be that hard. And it really, 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 really is. There's a lot of back to it that you don't see, that we don't show. And it's taught me to appreciate people. It's taught me to appreciate the knitting and the design, the process. I absolutely love it. And that's why I'm a knitwear designer, because I just love it. But it's also taught me, put my foot down. It's also taught me that, I don't know, just to appreciate everything. Really, I mean, I'm so grateful for all of you. If it wouldn't be for you guys, I wouldn't be here. And I always, always say it because I really, truly mean that. But knitting and designing has just really changed my life because I'm able to be at home with the girls, and I just appreciate it so much. I don't know, I'm just so grateful that knitting has helped with anxiety, has helped with stress, has helped with everything. I really think it's taught me really just honestly to appreciate. I mean, that's the one word I can really say because that's all that comes to mind. So, you guys are amazing and the best. And you know it all the time. I tell you all the time how amazing you are. Well, hello, sweetie. We have Miss Mittens that comes in. So yeah, I think those are all the questions. Let me go through again to make sure. Yep, that's it. So thank you so much, you guys. I'm going to also open up a Q&A and the Ravelry group. So if ever you guys have any questions, and from time to time, I love doing these Q&A episodes for you all. And if ever you have any questions, definitely put them in the Ravelry group. And in the meantime, if I do any Q&A episode asking you my stories, definitely go there as well. And I'll get those out to you guys. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are in the world. And until next time, everyone, happy knitting. Bye.